Hello, this video comes from my bed for no real reason other than the fact that it's a complete mess through there. But while I was busy taking care of that mess, I did a little bit of thinking, primarily about my newly minted US citizenship and what that means for my nationality. Over the years, I've often regaled you lot with stories of Americans asking me to say something in my English accent upon realizing that I am from the country of England. You know, you're in a restaurant in the middle of Indiana and you ask for some water. Well, that's going to raise some eyebrows and ears. And then every now and then they'll say something like, "I detected an accent there, are you British?" And my response was always, yes I am. Followed by the demand, "Say the word tomato." Sure, yeah, only if you don't put any on my burger. But now my answer to that question is going to be different. How would those same Americans respond to, "It's complicated"? Because I think in a human sense, people like their labels to be cut and dry. And don't get me wrong, YouTube sensation and America's finest British import doesn't care about labels. But just humour me for a second in whatever way you spell the word humour. In the past, when I'd confirmed that, yes, I'm English, or British, or United Kingdom-ish, the response would usually be one of excitement. I've never met a British person before, and that was just my first American employer. You know, it was neat, it was digestible, it was unambiguous. I am a British person. Now, that's changed. And it begs the question, what is my nationality? Of course, officially, my nationality is both British and American. But do I feel more one than the other? Well, let's take a look at both. Firstly, the nationality that I acquired in Britain, the place where I was born. Is born a word? It is now. If I were to make the case that I'm more British than American, I would point to a few things. Firstly, my accent. That's the very thing that gets those Americans to ask that question in the first place. Are you British? Or Australian, or somebody who's just faking it to attract women. I suppose the accent is a very defining characteristic of a British person, and I've been here almost 15 years and that accent isn't going away anytime soon. The same is true with some of the words and phrases that I use, like, "Ooh, that's absolutely mental," or "What a daft prat," both usually in the context of Chainsaw Jim. And then there's my sense of humour. It's been alleged in the comment sections of these videos that occasionally I'm funny, although 47% of that is accidental. And I think it's fair to say that I don't necessarily have an American sense of humour, but a very British one. And just like my accent, I suspect it'll never leave me. And then there's just my general appearance. When I look in the mirror, or in this camera, or in the editing suite of a video, I think, oh, you do look British. There's no escaping it. As a white British man, I am exceedingly pale. My face is a little bit crooked, my teeth doubly so. My hair. And so these characteristics alone would be more than enough reason for people that don't know me to assume that my nationality is simply British. But I have a piece of paper now, a certificate that says I, Lawrence Brown, am American. And like I said in my special, there's a reason that I applied for it. In some ways, I feel American. Personally, I think that's happened by osmosis. You live in a place for more than a third of your life. You obviously like living there. And because you like living there, you start to take on some of the traits of the people that you inhabit this country with. I talked about my accent a minute ago, and while that's sort of remained the same throughout, I've touched in the last year on American English words that I've picked up since living here. And I feel like that's going to be a never-ending cycle. We just do that as humans. We pick up words like water to a sponge, water to a sponge. And then there's the place itself. I mean, sure, there are many cons to living in the United States, but there are also a significant number of pros. And for the most part, I don't know, I just like living here. I mean, I like living in Britain too, but I did that for 26 years, which is greedy. I want to live in another country for a quarter of a century before moving on to my next one, Uruguay. All that to say, I don't think I could list my nationality as anything other than a 50-50 split. Half of me is British, half of me is American. I don't know which halves. We'll say my right side is British and my left side is American. I don't know what any of that means, but maybe it will culminate in tattoos. I'm joking, Mum. So with that being the case, what is it exactly? And this question was further prompted when I noted that fellow YouTube sensation and dual citizen Evan Edinger, whose last name I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, let me know in the comments below if I'm not, he describes himself as American British. And you know, it could be that we do these things alphabetically, A comes before B, or more likely it could be that Evan, being American born, puts his birth citizenship first and his adopted citizenship second. And to me, this seems to make sense, and I think that just like Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees, I will now be classed as a British-American human. right? Is Barry Gibb human? Do we know that for sure? And so now that that's decided, it just leaves me with one question. Does any of it really matter? And the answer is, most of the time, no. I think the only times that this is going to matter is in those aforementioned cases when Americans ask me if I'm British, or when I'm filling out forms, which, you know, given all of the life events that have happened to me recently and are still yet to come, paperwork is about 50% of what I do these days. But other than that, I'm just good old Lawrence Brown until I change my name to something really American like Brandon Brown. I'll stick with Lawrence. That's it for this video. I'm Lawrence Brown. You can follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS, and I'm going to go and sort out all that mess through there, aren't we? Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that I don't have to, and a huge thank you to all of my patrons and a big thank you to all of you for your well wishes this week. I'll see you all in my next video. Goodbye.